Hello music fans, welcome to the Death by Unicorn channel for another installment of What's New 2023. You can see my cat Monty behind me there licking his paws. He's ready to hear some good album recommendations. Today I'll be talking about 4 albums that I listened to that came out on February 17th. And I'll talk about them in my order of preference, focusing on the metal, rock, and progressive genres, starting with Half Me is the name of the artist, and the album's called Soma, and this is metalcore. And the first 2 albums I'm going to talk about have something in common here. They're both debut albums, and they're both from German bands. So this is a debut album from a German band. I heard one of the singles beforehand. It had a really good mix of heavy riffs, breakdowns, and screaming with catchy hooks and singing as well. And when I heard the whole album, I happily realized this is probably the breakdown and mosh pit album of the year so far. So check it out if you're into screaming, breakdowns, and need some music to mosh to. Secondly, I'm going to talk about an album from a band called All My Shadows, and the album's called Eerie Monsters. This is hard rock with some heavy metal influences. It's another debut album, another German band. This band features 2 members of the German progressive metal band Vandenplas, though this album is not very progressive. Instead, it focuses more on melody, and it's kind of melodic, catchy hard rock with some heavy metal influences thrown in. It sounds kind of like Iron Maiden, but even less metal and even catchier hooks. So think of it like Iron Maiden meets Journey. And I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did, but I've got to say this is undeniably great. It's not just the vocals that are catchy, the guitar riffs are nice and memorable. I enjoyed the pinch harmonics in some of the riffs, as well as the intense guitar solos reminiscent of the 80s. This is probably the best traditional hard rock album I've heard so far this year, and that's very unexpected for me because there were some solid albums released already from the Winery Dogs, Uriah Heep, and Steve Vai. But I think this is catchier, more memorable, contains better riffs, and more memorable guitar solos than all those other releases I mentioned. My favorite track was the opening track, Silent Waters. Next up, I'm going to talk about a release from a band called See You Next Tuesday, and the album's called Distractions. This is deathcore, kind of bordering on mathcore because there's a lot of like spastic timing changes. And even bordering on grindcore. They do the really like short songs and really like spastic, crazy, intense hardcore energy. It's the 3rd album by this American band, but it's their first since 2008. So they took 15 years off since the last album. They did a 6-year hiatus from 2009 to 2015, but they reunited in 2015 to keep touring, but they haven't made any new material until now. Now, I'm not usually a big deathcore fan, but this might be my favorite deathcore band, unless you count I Wrestled a Bear Once as a deathcore band, but I see them as more avant-garde, mathcore, or metalcore with some deathcore moments. But if you wish bands like Lorna Shore had a little more mathcore and a little less symphonic influence, that's kind of what this sounds like, so See You Next Tuesday might be a good band for you. However, this release didn't quite hit me as hard as the material on their first 2 albums. I think maybe I've just grown out of this style for the most part, so maybe it's me and not them. And lastly, for this week, I'm going to talk about a release from Pink called Trustfall, and this is pop, maybe pop rock. It doesn't really fall into my normal genres that I talk about, but it's the 9th album by this American pop superstar. And I liked some of her hit songs back when I was 13 years old or so. I still like them for now for nostalgia reasons. She is a great and powerful singer. I checked this out just to see if I could enjoy her music even without the nostalgia factor, and it was surprisingly good. Pop music's not really my thing, but even though the chord progressions and song structures are all pretty formulaic, her vocals are just great, the melodies are catchy, so I think it was pretty well done. I think it might even top similar poppy releases from this year, like I think it tops Shania Twain and Paramore, so I prefer this over that. And that's it for my albums that I listened to from February 17th, 2023. Notice there's kind of a lack of prog. I didn't have any progressive metal or prog rock albums on my radar. Let me know if I missed anything. If there's anything I should check out that you think I'd like, leave that down in the comments. And until next time, peace out.